Hello everyone, I'm Pierce Wise, your SimNFL Commissioner, and today we are announcing the 2024 SimNFL schedule for SimFBA.com. For those of you who might have stumbled onto this video and don't know what SimFBA is, this is a sports simulation website offering football and basketball sims at the collegiate and pro level. So you can join us and sign up for a team today. That'll give you the opportunity to manage a roster, set a depth chart, and recruit new players if you want to play a collegiate sim, or draft and trade players for the pro sims. We are currently in our basketball season, and we're in our football off season, but come next year we will start our fourth college football season and third NFL season. All of these sims are custom coded. There's no third-party software to download, and there is no cost to play. So if you're interested, come visit us at simfba.com. So for this NFL schedule, I use the same methodology that the actual NFL uses. There's a 17-game season. Teams play everyone in their division in a double round robin. So you'll play 2 games against every division opponent, 1 home and 1 away, for a total of 6 division games. For conference games, you'll play another entire division on a 3-year rotation. So if you're in the AFC East, this year you're playing every team from the AFC West, etc. And then you have 2 other games that are from the other divisions in your conference. You're playing the team with the same rank from last year. So if you finished second in the AFC East last year, you're going to play, in addition to all of the AFC West teams, you're going to play the second place team from the AFC South and the AFC North. And one of those will be a home and one of those will be an away game. As for non-conference games, you'll play an entire division from the other conference on a 4-year rotation, 2 home and 2 away. So again, AFC East, they're playing all of the NFC East teams, the NFC South teams this year. That's the cross-conference matchup column, the middle column there. AFC North is playing the NFC West, etc. And then for your 17th game, you are playing from a different division in the non-conference. You're going to play another ranked game. So for the AFC East, again, if you're second place in the AFC East, this year your 17th game is from the NFC East, and you'll play the second ranked team. So the 17th game, that's on a 4-year rotation, 2 years offset from cross-conference matchups. So that's on a cycle as well. And the 17th game, one conference has all of the home games. This year it's the NFC, so every team in the NFC will play a 9th home game. Next year it's AFC. Every AFC team will have a 9th home game. And it's done this way to ensure fairness in the playoff races. This way you're not competing for a playoff spot against a team that has had an extra home game, because every team in your conference has the same number of home and away games that you did. So that's why the 17th game is done that way. When I make the schedule, there are some rules that I have to keep to. All the buys are between week 6 and week 14. There's 2 in week 6, 2 in week 14, and then 4 in the middle. So every team gets a bye week, and it's in the middle, so no one has to play 17 games in a row. Week 18, the final week of the regular season, is all division games. That's to encourage competitiveness and increase the likelihood that the games will be relevant for things like playoff races and standings. There are 54 primetime games. So every week 1 through 17, there's a Thursday night game, a Sunday night game, and a Monday night game. In week 18, there's only a Sunday night game, because you don't want your playoff fate to be decided at a different time. You don't want a Thursday night game to decide your fate, and then you wait for several days. Or I don't want to schedule a Monday night game that turns out to not matter for the playoffs, so it's kind of an afterthought. So week 18, all the games are played on Sunday, with just that one primetime game in the night. And then there are 2 additional Thursday games in week 12 when the NFL would have their Thanksgiving. So we have 2 extra primetime games there, so 54 in total. Every team in the league gets at least 2 primetime games. The most that any team gets is 5, and those are non-consecutive. You will not play primetime games 2 weeks in a row. I believe there's at least one team that has a primetime game and then a bye and then another primetime game. So consecutive games, but certainly not consecutive weeks at the very least. So those are all the rules I stick to. There are a couple other goals I try my best to achieve. Some are easier than others. Detroit and Dallas host those Thanksgiving games I talked about because that's tradition. The defending champ gets to kick off the regular season at home. This is also something the NFL does. So this year, the Denver Broncos will be playing in the first Thursday night game in Denver. They'll be beginning our season. The 2023 division champions, those games are spread out throughout the year. As I mentioned, so if you're a division champ, you play all the division champs from your conference and 2 from the other conference. And those are usually big draws, big games. So I try to spread those out. And very difficult games as well. Tough for strength of schedule, so I try to mix those up. The primetime games are a mix of division and conference and non-conference games. I don't keep track of that quantitatively, but I try to include a little bit of everything. I try to minimize consecutive road games. Generally, the NFL does not allow 3-week road trips. For me, I sort of have to because it's hard enough to fill in that grid just legally at all. So there are, I think, 6 teams that have 3 consecutive road games. That doesn't have a mechanical impact in the sim beyond just the usual home versus away. You know, your third consecutive away game is not any more difficult than your first one. But for aesthetics and for realism, I try to minimize those. I try to balance home and away as much as I can. And then I tried to minimize having the same home team for non-divisional rematches. So basically, if you're playing another team in your conference for the second year, like maybe your divisions were on rotation last year and then you ranked the same, so you're going to play them again this year, I try to make it so that the other team has the home game versus last year. That's not always possible, but again, trying to mix that up for the sake of the users. So, with all those explanations put in, here is the 2024 SimNFL schedule. You can see the teams over on the left-hand side, as well as their placement last year in their division. You can see all 18 weeks laid out. Again, the bye week window is highlighted in blue, those weeks 6 through 14. And then week 18 is all division games. From the key on the top right, you can see that division games are bolded, conference games are in italics, and away games are shaded. So you can quickly see your home and away schedule like that. First place teams playing against other first place teams I highlighted in red. This was mostly for me to help ensure that they were spread out, but that might be interesting for people to see. And then different cells are highlighted for the primetime games. So all Thursday night are highlighted or are bordered in green. Again, you can see week 1, Denver is hosting Miami. That's going to kick off our season. And then all the Sunday night games are bordered in orange and Monday night in the dark blue. Finally, the 2 holiday games, the Thanksgiving games, are highlighted or bordered in light blue. So this year that'll be Chicago at Detroit for the first Thanksgiving game, and then New York Giants at Dallas for the second. And then our Thursday night game to finish our Thanksgiving triple header will be Tennessee at Pittsburgh, an AFC first place matchup. So that is the complete grid. You can also see the number of primetime games. As I said, every team gets between 2 and 5. The teams who did better records or playoff teams tend to get more. Teams that did not do as well tend to get fewer. Again, that's just the way that works. But every team gets at least a couple. So free to pause the video or screenshot this, share this around, discuss it in the Discord. Definitely encouraged to see what people have to say. One last thing I will share. This is the strength of schedule. So these are the number of wins for your opponent for every week. I did not build this until I had completed the grid, so nothing here is intentional. I made no balancing efforts here. So if you have a really difficult start or a really easy finish or a tough stretch, didn't do that on purpose. Like I said, it's hard enough to fill out the grid legally as it is, but I thought this would be something people would enjoy seeing. As you can expect, teams who finished well in first place last year tend to have tougher schedules than people who didn't. And teams in really tough divisions like the AFC West tend to have tougher schedules than people in weaker divisions like the NFC South. But I should mention things change fast in the NFL, just like in real life. We had 6 new division champions last year. So of 8 divisions, 6 had new champions from the year before. We had a lot of new playoff teams. So between the draft and free agency, things can change fast. So just because you see a lot of green does not mean you're destined to have a bad year. Same way, just because you see a lot of red doesn't mean it's going to be a cakewalk. Um, but this is a view I thought people would appreciate, so you can start to look ahead to the big games for next year. But that is all I have for the 2024 NFL schedule launch. Thank you for joining me. I hope you're excited, and I will see you in the spring.